My brothers and sisters, may the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "The kingdom of heaven is like a net thrown into the sea, which collects fish of every kind. When it is full, they haul it ashore and sit down to put what is good into buckets. What is bad they throw away. Thus it will be at the end of the age. The angels will go out and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be a wailing and a grinding of teeth." "Do you understand all these things?" They answered, "Yes." And he replied, "Then every scribe who has been instructed in the kingdom of heaven is like the head of a household who brings from his storeroom both the new and the old." When Jesus finished these parables, he went away from there. The Gospel of the Lord. We believe in our hearts that in heaven there's no church. We don't need a church in heaven. The reason for the church is to be a means and a facilitation whereby people can come to understand what Jesus' message is, and in turn make on their own a kind of a commitment to that message to varying degrees. Come the kingdom, come heaven, there's no longer the righteous and the sinner. There is just the righteous. And of course, that is the whole message, if you will, over and over again in the gospel story is, first of all, people are given the opportunity to make the choice. God never made us in his image to be puppets. He allowed us the freedom in his image to make our own choices in life. And our entire life is spent hopefully making more good choices than bad ones. We find in this little parable today specifically that the kingdom of heaven is spoken about initially as the collecting of all sorts of fish in a net. But once it is completed, they are sorted out. And those that are good are kept, and those that are not are put away. And of course, that is ultimately the message of the gospel story, that those who follow the Lord and commit themselves to his message will be the ones who will be blessed. It's concluded all of these parables with a little statement about it's like the head of a household who brings from a storeroom both the new and the old. And we see from looking at the whole history of salvation, and specifically the history as it evolved in the Jewish people and then in turn in Christianity, that there is a pattern present there. There are elements of the Old Testament that still are very much part and parcel of the truth and part and parcel of our life. Those are the segments of the old. In fact, Jesus himself specifically said, "I've come not to destroy or put away the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them." But the new part is the nuance, in some ways the broadening understanding and various levels that Jesus brings to the message from the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, the relationship with God was totally immersed initially in this exclusive kind of character between the Jewish nation and God. But we find slowly but surely, even in the prophet's call, that there's an invitation to others to become part of that group. And then in turn, ultimately, there's an openness and awareness that all of us are called to be in the image and likeness of God. And so in the Old Testament, the belief was that the neighbor was that other Jewish relation. All of a sudden, Jesus in the New Testament takes it to another level and suggests the neighbor is anyone. And in fact, sometimes the very neighbor is the one that we least expect to be one. In the story of the Samaritan, for example, for the Jewish people, Samaritans were considered to be heretics. And yet it is the Samaritan that ends up becoming the sign and the facilitator of God's care and concern. The message of the Old Testament was very much aligned with the belief that there is but one God only, who has to be loved with all our heart, soul, and mind. And that surely is part of the message of Jesus, but again it is sort of nuanced with adding to it, he says, a second commandment, loving our neighbor as ourselves. And that it is these two that fulfill both the law and the prophets. And so as we continue our own personal journeys of bringing what was old and what is new together, let's be mindful of the fact that in those areas where we still flounder and fail, God in his patience and his love gives us second chances. In those areas where we're doing well, he's thankful for that fact and blesses us because of making the journey with him.